Welcome to another heinous true crime story. Please be advised, this story may contain graphic descriptions of unsettling subjects. Jack Owen Spillman, known as the Werewolf Butcher, terrorized Washington state in the mid-1990s. Born on January 3, 1969, in Bremerton, Washington, Spillman's early life was marked by dysfunction and violence. His father, Jack Spillman Jr., was a convicted rapist, setting a disturbing precedent for the horrors his son would later commit. Spillman's criminal career began early, with his first arrest at age 11. As he grew older, his crimes escalated in both frequency and severity. By adulthood, Spillman had amassed a lengthy rap sheet including burglary and assault. However, these crimes paled in comparison to the brutal murders he would eventually commit. The first known victim of Spillman's murderous rampage was Rita Huffman, a 48-year-old woman living in East Wenatchee, Washington. On April 10, 1994, Spillman broke into Huffman's home to burglarize it. Upon discovering Huffman asleep, Spillman's burglary turned into a savage attack. He beat Huffman severely, then raped her both before and after her death. The level of violence exhibited in this crime was shocking, but it was only a prelude to the horrors that were to come. Spillman's M.O. was characterized by extreme violence, sexual assault, and post-mortem mutilation. He would typically break into his victims' homes late at night, catching them off guard and vulnerable. Once inside, he would unleash a level of brutality that was almost unheard of, even in the annals of serial killer history. The most notorious and gruesome of Spillman's crimes occurred on September 26, 1995, when he targeted 15-year-old Penny Davis and her 9-year-old sister, Melissa Dorr, in East Wenatchee. Spillman broke into their home in the middle of the night, armed with a knife and fueled by his depraved desires. He first attacked Penny, subjecting her to a horrific ordeal of rape and torture before finally ending her life. Not satisfied with this act of brutality, Spillman then turned his attention to young Melissa. After killing Melissa, Spillman engaged in necrophilia with both victims' bodies. In a twisted act that would later earn him his chilling moniker, Spillman proceeded to mutilate the girls' bodies in a manner reminiscent of a werewolf attack. The crime scene that greeted investigators the next day was described as one of the most horrific they had ever encountered. The walls were splattered with blood, and the victims' bodies had been savagely torn apart. Spillman had disemboweled both girls, removing and taking with him parts of their internal organs. This grisly detail would later become a signature element of his crimes, with investigators finding that he had kept these trophies in his freezer. The brutality of the Davis-Dorr murders sent shockwaves through the community of East Wenatchee. The police were under immense pressure to catch the killer, but despite their best efforts, Spillman managed to evade capture for several months. During this time, he continued to feed his dark urges, stalking potential victims and planning his next attack. Spillman struck again on February 24, 1996, this time targeting 19-year-old Penny Davis, no relation to his previous victim of the same name, in Tonasket, Washington. The pattern of violence was similar to his previous crimes. He broke into Davis's home, subjected her to sexual assault, and then murdered her in a similarly brutal fashion. Once again, he mutilated the body and took parts with him as trophies. As the investigation intensified, law enforcement began to piece together a profile of the killer. The extreme violence, the sexual nature of the attacks, and the post-mortem mutilations all pointed to a deeply disturbed individual with a penchant for sadism and necrophilia. The removal of body parts suggested a killer who wanted to relive his crimes, keeping grisly souvenirs as a way to maintain a connection to his victims. The break in the case came when a witness reported seeing a suspicious vehicle near one of the crime scenes. This lead, combined with forensic evidence collected from the various murder sites, eventually led investigators to Jack Owen Spillman. When police arrested Spillman on March 13, 1996, they found a veritable house of horrors. Inside his home, they discovered numerous items linking him to the murders, including jewelry belonging to the victims and, most disturbingly, human body parts stored in his freezer. During his interrogation, Spillman showed little remorse for his actions. He confessed to the murders in chilling detail, describing how he had stalked his victims, broken into their homes, and carried out his brutal attacks. He spoke about the murders with a detachment that was almost as disturbing as the crimes themselves, referring to his victims in dehumanizing terms and expressing pride in the fear he had instilled in the community. Spillman's trial began in 1997, and the evidence presented painted a picture of a remorseless killer with an insatiable appetite for violence. Prosecutors detailed the brutality of his crimes, presenting forensic evidence that left no doubt as to Spillman's guilt. The defense attempted to argue that Spillman was mentally ill and not fully responsible for his actions, but this argument held little sway with the jury. On May 15, 1997, Jack Owen Spillman was found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated first-degree murder. The judge, citing the extreme brutality of the crimes and Spillman's lack of remorse, sentenced him to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. In delivering the sentence, the judge described Spillman as the poster child for the death penalty, but due to Washington state law at the time, capital punishment was not an option in this case. The aftermath of Spillman's crimes left a lasting impact on the communities he had terrorized. The families of his victims were left to grapple with unimaginable loss and the knowledge of the horrific final moments their loved ones had endured. The brutality of the murders also had a profound effect on the investigators and first responders who had worked the case, with many requiring counseling to deal with the trauma of what they had witnessed. Today, Jack Owen Spillman remains incarcerated, serving out his life sentences in the Washington State Penitentiary. His crimes serve as a grim reminder of the potential for darkness that can exist within individuals and the devastating impact that such evil can have on families and communities. The name Werewolf Butcher, while sensationalistic, captures the almost inhuman nature of Spillman's crimes, crimes that continue to shock and disturb even decades after they were committed. If you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. Please remember to like the video, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.